If you're a contractor spending at least $50,000 a year on equipment, I'm going to show you how to build control, flexibility, and a six-figure tax-free retirement by doing one thing different. Thank you for joining the channel today. We are going to deep dive where I'm going to screen share, show you some illustrations, show you some hypotheticals. Obviously, this is not tax advice. I am not an attorney. This is not investment advice, as in I don't give advice on investments. What I'm going to do is give you the exact framework I've given probably 30 plus contractors in the last couple years on this exact strategy. It is not theory. It is not it might work. This system works. But the most beautiful part is you do not have to do anything but change one thing. Let's jump right in. So today's example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a gentleman who runs a excavation company. He buys skid steers, mini excavators, equipment for all of them, trailers. He's got a dump truck. And I'm going to show you a easy system that we put in. But let's give a small backstory on what he was doing prior to working for us. So the moment we want to start a business and become an entrepreneur, we are extremely happy. And then we start making some money, and then we take our money and we pay cash, or worse, finance things we need. We'll just call that equipment for today. I'm going to assume that this gentleman I'm going to kind of use today as an example does about $300,000 net in his pocket. I don't really care what people make on top line. It's merely interesting. What do you put in your pocket is all that anyone should ever talk about. So we have $300,000 net. And an easy way to think about that is the actual net. What you catch, what you bring home, 300K net. Heavy, intensive with buying equipment, insurance, upgrading equipment. They get a lot of use and abuse. And so historically, he was making this 300 and spending cash on equipment. Now, one of the things we have to understand if we are going to be a high-level business owner, now, this doesn't require a PhD. This requires somebody with common sense. We have to understand that capital, money, is the number one tool for the entrepreneur. It is not your business. It is not anything else. It is not your investment guy. It's not your insurance guy. It's purely access to capital. It is your largest and biggest expense. And so, one, if we don't have capital, we check ourselves out and we're financing. And two, if we have capital, we pay cash. Now, anytime we pay cash, that money is gone for the rest of our life. Yes, we get a piece of equipment for it, and that makes money, so that is good. And definitely the best thing is to pay cash over finance so you can have breathing room, you can sleep good at night, you don't have the banks calling or repoing your assets. Sometimes I had a client tell me one time he took the truck he had bought and he returned it to the dealership, and he said, that is what I call a mepo, not a repo. I was dying when he shared that. Back to the illustration. So what we're going to do here is realize that in your business, you are the greatest asset for your family, not your business. Well, arguably, you are your business. You grow the business, you make the business, you create the business. But that business would not be there. Without you. So hands down, you are the best asset for the company and your family. Number one, no close second. Not your Bitcoin, not your gold, not your real estate portfolio. You got all of that stuff to show up. Knowing that fact, you are the greatest asset to your family, to your community, to your church, to your world. We need to do something about that. We need to protect ourselves as the entrepreneur. Now, here is the best part. In doing this strategy, one, you have the realization that you are the asset. And that brings a lot of clarity. People are always thinking, what do I need to invest in? What do I need to do? Who do I give my money to? What do I need to buy? What do I need to, get a course or a coach? Yes to some of those things, but you are it. So I believe that being in business and aligning your business with what I refer to as first principles, your business will scale faster than everybody else. And in today's illustration, you're going to see that exact thing. So we need to look at, let me ask you this question first before we get started. If you had a machine in your basement or in your garage, and that machine printed out $300,000 a year cash, and we'll just say that's illegal. The Fed or the federal government, they print money, and it's called monetary policy. If you or I print money, we go to prison. I'm going to show you how to print money legally. But back to if you had this amazing machine. This machine, these are the levers and the gadgets and the screens and the knobs. If this machine made $300,000 a year, and every year this machine went up by 10%, would you insure that machine against loss? In case it flooded on it, in case your kid ran it over, in case it had issues, whatever, a rat chewed it. Would you insure that machine for $300,000 a year and every year a little bit more? I would probably assume yes, because right now you're already fully insuring your house, the value of your house. You're driving a truck around and you have insurance on the truck. I know people that have cell phone insurance. You have health insurance, which most of that is a scam. I'm going to make a video on that shortly. And then obviously, sometimes people have a little bit of life insurance. Most people not adequate enough for what they're actually worth. So the question is if we insure everything to full value, but we don't insure this thing, this machine that makes $300,000 a year, how dumb is that? This thing's going to make $300,000 a year till you die. How cool is that? And you're telling me you wouldn't insure it for, let's say, 5% of $300,000, which is $15,000 a year, to ensure that this $300,000 money printing machine never went away. Only a fool would say no. 300,000, 15 grand. I have in my pocket $285K a year on autopilot for the rest of my life. Let me have a news flash here. You are the machine. In this example, this gentleman makes $300,000 a year for his family, and we can ensure that that $300,000 a year goes up. Life insurance is very interesting. 90% of life insurance is garbage, complete garbage. I believe it's around 75 to 80% of all life insurance policies end up not paying out. And especially permanent life insurance policies. It's higher for term. But knowing that, using life insurance as a tool will be the key to making sure that it works. So let's jump into the illustration, talk about this gentleman, and see how in his business, pardon my chicken scratch, can be increased, protected, and extremely profitable by doing one thing only. So what we have here, this is a life insurance policy. Now, if you went and talked to 50 agents, you might get one or two who would actually build it in this fashion. And I'm just being brutally honest with you. I'm in the life insurance space. I've been there since 2017. It is not done correctly 90% of the time, maybe 95% of the time. Knowing that the business owner's biggest need is capital, that incentivizes the agent to drive his commission down from the product in order for you to win. It's just the way the industry's set up. Don't bang the messenger, but most often they're not going to be done right. You're going to get scammed. and we'll talk about that. In this illustration, we have a life insurance policy on a 33-year-old gentleman. He's the one that runs the excavation company. Heavy equipment intensive, liability. We're digging, we're dealing with drainage and grading, people driving trucks on the roads. And so we must make sure that we are optimized for long-term cash flow, not losing from incidents or lawsuits, and making sure that we can win. So the average guy is going to either pay cash for his equipment, and he's going to lose that money, making him money into the future every year, growing and compounding. Second worst case scenario is he's going to knock on the financing door of the bank and say, please give me a loan, where he's going to be in high interest debt. This video recording is 2026, and interest rates are not favorable. Everything is increasing around us. Properties are increasing. The stock market is increasing. Gold just hit $5,000 an ounce. Silver hit $120 an ounce. Education is through the roof. The grocery store is not cheap to get out of. So what I say is we are in an everything bubble. Now, for the gentlemen who use this strategy and that I've set up in the last 10 years, they are winning. And I'm going to show you how with this illustration. But let's start with the basics. In this illustration, we're going to say that he had $100,000 sitting in his bank account with his construction company. We're also going to say that once we sit down and do a cash flow analysis and look at his annual savings, that we can get a 15% savings on his net income. So 300,000 times 0.15, that is $45,000 a year, 15%. He's comfortable with 45 grand a year, putting it away. The key is he can still access that. So we've committed to an annual savings of 15%. He's growing his company every year, little by little. He's at $300,000 of income, and 15% is going away. He also had $100,000 sitting in the company for payroll, fuel, operational needs. And he said, I can also allocate $45,000 of the money I put in the commercial bank because I see the benefit of this system. So he has 45 of his savings and 45 of his future savings that we're going to commit to every year, 15%. I believe if you're not saving 20% of your income, you are losing. Just my belief. If you're doing 10, great job. The national savings rate, and this is on the Fed, is 4.4%. Nobody is saving money. Now, you may be, if you're on this video, congrats to you. I am going to show you how to amplify that savings every year, and most importantly, ensure the $300,000 machine that prints out cash every year. So we took the $90,000, half from what he can commit to saving every year, plus what he can dump in from his commercial bank account at Bank of America or wherever, and we can actually liquidate that account and put it into another place that is asset protected, credit protected, and lawsuit protected. That is a life insurance policy. Without getting too much into the particulars, this simple illustration is from Penn Mutual, about 150-something-year-old company. They've been around, they've been through world wars, and when you're looking at partnering with a company, you want the best. You want the ones who've been in business the longest, great ratings, and have a history of winning through all seasons of life. Wars, depressions, you name it. So this illustration is showing $90,000 in year one. Now, this would be the non-guaranteed side. It's a life insurance company. If we have World War III coming soon, which we may, if we have a real pandemic, not a plandemic, then, the life insurance company can't say 100% we're going to do this. They have to deal with death, disaster, things of that nature. Now, historically, the non-guaranteed values are very accurate. For this illustration, let's pretend they're accurate. $90,000 in year one, and right out of the gate, his liquidity, $75,597. That is what he has access to. That being said, he now can also shift from a commercial bank where they take your money and go lend it out to the next sucker who walks in and make money. We no longer participate in that. This is the one thing. We now say, we're going to partner with a life insurance company that's been around for almost 160 years, and we're going to let them grow our money, protect our money, asset protect it, and create our own financing portion of our business. So most people, back to the iPad, most people think they're in the business of the thing. Let's call this the mini excavator. Is that a mini excavator? Sure, close enough. They think I'm in the excavation business, and that is true. But you're also in the cash flow management business. Everybody is in the finance business, whether you like it or not. And most people are losing. This video is going to show you exactly how to not lose. So 1, the thing. 2 is banking. Don't make banking some mythical, crazy thing. All banking is storing money into a place that you control and lending it out and using it for your benefit. That is a bank of money. We have a blood bank. If you're in the Northwest or it's cold, you have a snow bank, right? Go to the river, there's a river bank where the river turns. It's banked, all the material. I'm going to challenge you as a contractor in the trades, buying a ton of equipment, trucks, supplies, equipment, things you need for your company. We need to be in the banking business. Now, if you don't understand in 2026 that the banks rule the world, they make the politicians jump, they make the wars happen, they are the ones who control everything. Why would we not want something to that effect where our families benefit masterfully? Obviously, let's not start world wars and craziness, but use the banking and use the financing first in our company, second in our families, and third for our legacy. And I'm going to break that down with this illustration, as you'll see shortly. That being said, what we have here is $90,000 in year 1, instantly 85% to build out his financing company. Now, I encourage people to think this way. Anytime you start a company, you have to invest. You have to buy the equipment, the phones, the t-shirts, the branding, the insurance, the building maybe, or the lease for the building. And there's always that upfront expense. If you think starting a bank is free, you live in a weird world. But I will show you how in a very short period of time, this bank becomes very profitable. His initial death benefit is $2.5 million. God forbid he gets hit by a meteorite. We're not scrambling, asking for a car wash. The family could be okay with $2.5 million. I still don't think that's enough, but that's where term life insurance comes into play. You can use this contract for its banking needs and also put a bunch of term that's very affordable to make sure we can get $3 to $5 to $10 million to show up for you and your family to ensure that that money machine never stops. Year 2, we've concluded $45,000 every year until the age 52, $45,000 a year. The reality is he's already saving the money. He's just going to put it from a commercial bank, skip that step. Yes, we'll keep some cash in there for operations, for what we need to run our companies, but we do not want to keep any excess money in the company ever. The first reason we don't want to do that is for liability reasons. If you're sued, disgruntled employee, whatever the case, and they come knocking saying, we have a lawsuit against you, you want to be able to say, I don't have very many assets. I don't have equipment in my company. I lease my equipment, happens to be over in a lease company that you may own or control, maybe into a trust, that the trust has a lease agreement set up with your company. So that is the asset protection side that life insurance actually provides you. Money held in a life insurance policy in most states is not able to be touched in litigation. What a blessing. So over this period of time, where we have 5, 10, 15, 20 years, we're going to see that this gentleman is going to store money in a life insurance company, and he's going to put in $945,000, and that is it. Not a penny more, not a penny less. Now, let me back up and break down this premium. Obviously, year one, it's higher because we did a big dump in. That was liquid cash we had on hand. Big win to get this thing, push started. This $45,000, that $45,000, that's the ceiling. Great year, 15% savings. We are going to put in $45,000 on banger years. The floor in this policy, as in not a good year, slow year, waiting for contracts to mature, this policy is only, you can't see it because it says 45, is only required to pay about $12,500 a year. So we have flexibility. That is a key component for every entrepreneur. We need flexibility. So when you see 45, remember, lean year, 12 grand, great year, 45,000. So we put that in year two, we put in 135,000. Our total cash value, when you see total cash value, think my bank. If you log onto your phone and check your bank at One of America, you can also log into your life insurance policy and see your bank for your family. Now remember, if you didn't come from money, like me and many of my clients, making this move will make you the patriarch for this family. More importantly, if you sit down with your children and show them how to get out of the parasitic banking system, they will then teach their children. And the story wins as long as we take the time to sit down with our children, explain financing, our own system, cash flow management, and first principles. One, our money is in alignment. We are the best assets for our company, as I say it again. Your children will also be very valuable to their spouses and their businesses. So everybody in the family, in one way, shape, or form, should get this strategy going. Very easy to implement. So let's take a look at year 5. 5 years down the road, we have put in $270,000. We have access to $262,000 for our banking needs. About a break-even phase there. Looks like we're off shy about $2,700-ish. That is what we refer to as the capitalization phase. The banking business is making money. Let's just say you went in this year 3 and you borrowed $45,000 from the life insurance policy and you bought a duplex. Now you have a loan out, you have a duplex, you have a profitable business, and so you have an asset and you have a finance system. Here is the key with life insurance that nobody knows. Very few people know this. Let's just say you borrowed $75,000 from this $158,000. That leaves you with cash value of around $83,000 that you can still use for your needs, emergency fund, war chest, whatever the case. So we borrowed $75,000 for the down payment of the duplex. We have $83,000 in there. But the beautiful part about a life insurance policy is this policy's dividend is going to grow at the full value of the $158,000, even though we just bought a duplex and now are receiving cash flow from the tenants. Only place you can save your money, protect it, value your life, and also grow the money at full value. There's no other place in the market that I know of where this is doable. That's why these are considered a multi-tool. When you pull out of your pocket a Leatherman, you may need the pliers, you may need the knife, the file, the wire cutter. That's what a life insurance policy is for a business owner. Flexibility, liquidity, death benefit, loans, and full growth, tax-free growth. Let's just say we had a banger year. We made more money in our company than possible. We were able to pay our $45,000 annual premium. We have cash flow. We have increased revenue in the company. Well, because we have a loan over here of $75,000, we can actually pay our premium and pay off half or all of that loan. And now we have a system that is chugging. We get to the 5th year, we're pretty much break even. Your 6th year, you put in 45, you're massaging the system. Now, here is the beauty of borrowing from a life insurance policy. When you call to borrow money or call me to get a loan for you, they don't ever ask me, well, what is the client going to do with the money? What is his credit score? Is he in litigation? Has he filed bankruptcy? They do not care what you use your money for. They don't ask when you're going to repay it. They don't ask, is there a minimum monthly repayment schedule? That is all on us as banking CEOs of the finance portion of our life. Complete flexibility on repaying that loan. To borrow money right now from life insurance companies across the board is around 4.5% to 5.5%. Simple interest, which is beautiful because market rate for money right now, I've seen it high as 18%. I've seen it as low as around 9%. So we're in the 7th year of this policy. We do our another $45,000. We've put in a total of $360,000. And we're actually starting to get a little tailwind. Put in $360,000. We have access to $380,000. We'll call that $388,000. And also look at this death benefit, 3.2. It's gone from 2.5 million where we started up to 3.2. Now let's talk about this. The reason the death benefit is climbing is because every year we take our dividend and we reinvest it into the policy to grow our money compounded. This is uninterrupted compound growth till the day we die. Now with that, we're building an asset that is pretty much fighting inflation for our family on autopilot. We don't have to manage it. We don't have to manage it. The life insurance company's managing that for us. And that is a blessing and an added perk to being a participating person in this system with a mutual life insurance company. Let's go down to year 10. Another good year, $45,000. We've put in $495,000. Now we have access to almost $600,000. $100,000 this system has made for us on autopilot. No risk. This is not an investment. So if you're thinking, well, I can go into the market and get a 12% return, why would I go into a life insurance company where I get a boring 4 to 6% return? It's not about rate of return. It is about access to cash, access to opportunity, and making sure that all your money is not locked away in the stock market so you don't have to knock on the door of the bank. That is the key. We have flexibility built into our life. If you're putting a little bit of money away to get a market return of, let's say, 10%, which I think is generous, if you're looking at, oh, I can get a 10% of the market, well, what about all the finance charges and interest you're paying for banks for using other people's money? There is a huge correlation with people who have high 401ks and also have credit card debt. The reason you have to use the credit card is because you've locked money away for 30 years in an account that you can't touch. No business owner would ever do that. Now, if things are great and you want to have discretionary spending to go into a 401k to grow your money, I totally get it. But remember, as a business owner, our largest need is money and opportunity. And it's strange how when you have money, opportunity shows up at your door. So let's go to year 15, $45,000 a year, great year for us. We have $1 million chugging along silently, predictably, in with the life insurance company. We're now worth $4.2 million dead in this contract, plus any additional cheap term insurance that we carry. I carry a ton of term insurance on myself because it's not feasible to use a whole life policy for all of your insurability needs. That's what most agents do and how you get screwed. We're no longer going to go to the bank and ask them for a loan on equipment. We're going to borrow money from our system, purchase the equipment with the cash. We're going to set up a repayment schedule just like the bank would to pay that policy loan back every year. This system is only doing one more thing. Using the insurance company to house the cash, let them grow it. We use it just like a bank would. We go and buy things that have great value and get a return on our money. Fast forward 20 years, we have put in $945,000. We've got a duplex along the way. We've got $500,000 worth of equipment that we've purchased. Maybe we've purchased some single family homes around our neighborhood for our children to think about their future. We have those as rentals right now, making more cash flow. And every time we take a loan out of here, that creates space for us to pay back. So if we have banger years in our company, we can actually pay our premium. And on top of that, pay down some loans that we have, maybe on some real estate or some equipment. And you guys, in doing this system, you sleep well at night. You're not worried about these life insurance getting tanked. You're not worried about massive issues. You have access to cash. And when the world is suffering, we can come in, be the market clearing force to buy up cheap real estate, buy up cheap equipment, or even go maybe to one of our friends who own a company in the same space and he's ready to sell, and we can actually make an offer to purchase his company. Back to this 20th year. $1.6 million in the bank that we manage, 4.9, almost 5 million of death benefit. And this thing is humming along, boring, quiet, peaceful, protected, all the while looking your family in the face saying, I respect myself, my life, and I love you guys. I will actually prove that, one, by building a successful company, and two, by making sure that if I get hit by a meteorite, you guys aren't down and out and worrying about more trauma of finance. So let's just say he wants to sell his company in this year. He's ran it for 20 years. It's got a great book of business. There's systems in place, great operations, and he gets an offer to sell his company for, let's just say, $10 million. Knowing that this gentleman right here was going to sell his company in his 20th year, and he probably started prepping to sell his company in these years because it takes some time to get everything done and make sure that it's a good book of business to sell. He could have went in here and started draining some of these to buy real estate. When you buy real estate, you can depreciate that real estate. You can pay less taxes. He could have bought more equipment to sell for the company. Could have depreciated that. And so now he created a void in his banking system with a bunch of loans out, knowing he still has a war chest. He still has $500,000 sitting there, and he can still, pay for kids' colleges and things of that nature, weddings, whatever he needs. And then when he sells the company, he can take that company, instead of parking it in a commercial bank, he could then pay off $1 million or $500,000 or $750,000 of loans. Now, in all reality, this gentleman most likely right here in about this 5th year period would have started a second one of these policies. He would have grown the system. Just like if you're a company, you add more trucks. You want to expand because you maxed out your income with 2 trucks. So we need 2 more trucks to get more income, more revenue. Same thing with our banking system. If we have one policy and it's working great, but we continue to look at our commercial bank account and see a ton of cash, we don't want it in their bank. They're going to leverage it and make the money. We want it in our bank, doubling our death benefit, doubling our cash, doubling our system. That's why people put these on themselves, their spouses, and their kids. So looking down here, let's say he sells his company for $10 million. That money gets repurposed to start other policies for his wife and his grandkids and his kids and his family members. He can put one on his brother. He can put one on an employee at his work that he owns and the family owns. And all of a sudden, we have expanded our capacity for more velocity of money over time. Let's just say he goes and consults on a 7-year non-compete, and he starts, acquiring more real estate, managing his investments, doing things for charity of his nature that he wishes. And we get over here into age 65. Let's just say at age 65, the 33rd year of this policy, he says, you know what? I want to go part-time. I want to manage my rental managers. I want to spend time with my grandkids, and I want to serve in my church and go do great things. What we can do here at 65, we have $3.2 million just in this contract. Remember, he sold his company, $3.5 million. Let's just say a safe 5% drawdown rate. He can most likely take $175,000 of tax-free income for 20 plus years. Every year, draw this account down, use it as income. Technically, he's using it as money. Income is taxed. When he receives this money, it's tax-free, and he can use it as he sees fit. So he has now, just by creating the system to buy equipment, to fund his rental acquisition purchases, to pay for his kids' weddings, he has come to the realization that commercial banks are not the place for his family. And in doing so, he has in essence created a tax-free pension for himself, on not just this policy, but probably the other 3 or 4 policies he created along the way. This one is chunking out $175,000 a year. Like I said, probably for 20 to 25 years, easy, plus the other policies, most likely making his monthly income around $300,000 to $500,000 a year tax-free. This is kind of fancy. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot to learn here. We got to manage money, pay back bills. It does require work. I'm not lying to you. I don't want you to think that anybody can do this. You have to have some wherewithal with using money and paying back and respecting a system. Now, this one system, let's just say he passes away at the right age with all the peptides and technology and everything we know, that he kicks the bucket at 94. This one contract is going to fire off $15 million of death benefit. Obviously, that can be reduced if he took a ton of money out of this, if he invested wrong and he messed up. But let's just assume he used the system well. He paid back the system, used the system appropriately. This thing's going to fire off $15 million. Remember, he only put in $945,000 and not a penny more. So the question becomes, would you put $945,000 over 20 years to create a system worth millions and millions of dollars? In his 80s, it's over 10 million, 9 to 10 million, getting up into the 11 millions, even to his late 80s, almost 12.7. Obviously, there's a lot to unpack here. I hope you were able to see the benefit of simply doing one thing. When people talk about banking contracts or infinite banking, this is what they're referring to. Now, mind you, I do not have an IUL here. I have never sold an IUL. I don't promote IULs, and I think they're garbage long term. People do use them well. I don't think very many people do. And most insurance agents can't show you a 20-year IUL because they have issues, they cannibalize. People will sell them to you like hotcakes. My clients, if they want one from me, they need to go to somebody else to get an insurance product. I don't offer them. I know their downside, and it's way worse than their upside. This is a crunchy whole life, like 100-year-old basic whole life policy with very little whole life. Most of the money is going towards the financing, liquidity, banking system. So I hope you understand that this video is helpful. I hope you can start seeing a position where you can use it in your company. Not only you, but train your children and end the poverty cycle and eliminate the peasantry who is getting taken advantage of by elevating your family into amazing positions of strength and power, control, and flexibility. Make it a great day. See you on the next video.